why don't we talk about Rudy Gobert and his Twitter account, which seems to have set Utah Jazz fandom on fire, mainly because he did absolutely nothing that would indicate that he wants to be traded to the Golden State Warriors. Over the weekend, you may have seen that Kevon Looney had a massive game. What was that, on Friday night? He had a career high in points. First time in his NBA career, he scored 20 points. Looney dominated. Golden State went up 2-0. And there was an ESPN stat that was tweeted out talking about how this was Looney's first game, to which Rudy Gobert gave the, bicep pump emoji a couple of times and retweeted that. And all of a sudden, every idiot and their brother was like, oh, he wants to be traded to Golden State.
Twitter's been going crazy.
I'm just telling you now, that tweet had nothing to do with Rudy Gobert wanting to be traded to Golden State. And I understand it's silly season, but here's the thing, Jake. I don't even think it makes sense for the Utah Jazz to trade Rudy Gobert to Golden State.
Yeah, I mean, let's just surmise or assume, just for conversation's sake, that Rudy did actually want to go to the Warriors. It doesn't really matter because it's up to the Jazz where he gets traded. And we've told you this several times that, it just simply does not make sense to trade Rudy Gobert in the Western Conference. What makes sense is to send him out east to a team, like Toronto or, maybe a Washington, or there's even been on the rumor mill, Charlotte may potentially be interested. So you have interest out east. And I think the logic just simply is, why would you trade a defensive player of the year guy in Rudy Gobert to a team that you're likely going to see be a postseason contender for at least the next 3-4 seasons at a minimum, maybe a bit longer than that? Why would you help them? Well, you wouldn't. So that's why I say, yeah, sure, Rudy can retweet these things, and I do agree that, big men have to advocate for big men, right? Like, you gotta support your fellow big man in the league, but I don't think that this, by any stretch of the imagination, was Rudy saying, oh man, like, I am going to request a trade to Golden State. I think Rudy saw that tweet and was like, hey, good on you, man. Like, Kevon Looney is a well-liked player in the league. He's not somebody that people hate, and I think that Rudy was just having fun on Twitter, mainly because he's not playing basketball right now, with all due respect. So yeah, I just didn't see the logic in, oh my God, Rudy asked for a trade to the Warriors, because I just don't think that he actually did that.
Yeah, and I think it's one of these things where we too often assume that this is what Rudy wants, or A, the guy's allowed to use Twitter. B, I mean, it's a fraternity. Big men in this league, especially considering that big men in this league are a dying breed, it's a fraternity. I mean, it's one of those things where you have a guy in Rudy Gobert who's arguably the best big in the NBA by some people's imaginations, supporting another. Like, I just don't think there's anything here. And as Rudy himself tweeted a couple of weeks ago when that ridiculous, him or me BS came out, there's a new rumor every single day, it seems like. And I think you have to filter through reality versus, just absolute, purely made up BS. And I think when you look at Rudy Gobert, it makes no sense for the Utah Jazz to trade Rudy Gobert to the Golden State Warriors. It just, on a lot of levels, especially when you would have to think about what Golden State would give up to get Rudy, Andrew Wiggins would certainly have to be in that deal, right? I mean, and Andrew Wiggins is having the season of his life this postseason. So I find it hard to believe that Golden State's looking to move on from him. And I also think, yeah, I can see a way that Rudy would want to play for Golden State. It's a great organization, brand new arena, going to compete for a championship in a week or so. Like, yeah, what's not to like about Golden State? But it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think I'll say again the same thing that I've said for a month now. I have spoken to Rudy Gobert's agent about the trade demand. He told me straight up that that's not coming from Rudy. People at the Jazz have told me directly that Rudy Gobert has told them, hey, I want to be here, but I am open to a move. Rudy Gobert has told people that he is frustrated with his role in the offense and that he wants to be a bigger part of the offense. He feels like he's a scapegoat for the defense. that he takes too much of the blame for the defensive failings of this team. Well, guess what, 27? That's what comes when you're one of the best defensive players in the history of the NBA at your position.
Totally.
So there's expectations there. I think Rudy Gobert wants to be in a Utah Jazz uniform, however crappy those uniforms are next year. I think Rudy Gobert wants to be here in Salt Lake. But what I also think is Rudy Gobert wouldn't mind being traded. It would not be the end of his career. It would not be the end of his world. I highly doubt it's going to be to the Golden State Warriors. That may happen. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I would put it at 99%. That's not happening. 1% it would. I can't see him ending up with the Dallas Mavericks. That does not make sense. The Utah Jazz are a lot of things, but what they're not is stupid. And I think when you look at the basketball men that are running this organization right now, and Justin Zanuck and Danny Ainge, this is not their first, trip around the block. I highly doubt that if Rudy Gobert gets traded, that you're going to see Rudy wind up with one of the contenders in the West, certainly not one of the elites in the West, which both Dallas and Golden State have proven to be.
Yeah. No, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think that, again, the Jazz are in this sort of interesting place as an organization because that you do need to move on, from Rudy and change this roster. As we've talked about ad nauseum on the show. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but I think just sticking to the Rudy situation, I think that Rudy likes playing for the Jazz. I think if you're the Jazz, you're not going to help out. You're not going to make your path to the NBA Finals more difficult by trading him to a Western Conference team. You're just not going to do that. I mean, you could send him to, a bottom feeder in the league like Sacramento, I guess, but that just they don't have a ton to offer back. I think when you look out east, if you're the Jazz, the teams that have something to offer obviously are Toronto. I think Charlotte's an interesting conversation because they have a lot of athleticism. They don't really have, in my opinion, a big that obviously would replace what Rudy brings, but I don't necessarily think you're looking for that. You're looking to get a little younger. You're looking to get a little more athletic. So that's why I say I think there's some options out east, and I just think that when we're in this time of year for the Jazz, when everyone wants to say, oh, well, Don's going to the Knicks, or Rudy's going to the Warriors, or all these rumors, you have to understand nothing's going to take place until the season's over, until the NBA Finals conclude, and then you will see conversations will start happening, and there will actually be real, tangible stuff to talk about as far as Rudy's situation is concerned, because nobody's making a move right now. It's just not happening. That's not happening right now. So I think if I'm Rudy Gobert, I'm getting my ass in the gym. I'm going to continue to strengthen myself and work on my game. And whatever happens, happens. I mean, that's all he can do at this point.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see that it makes a lot of sense. I don't know that this whole thing with the Jazz, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. I get it. We talk about it just about every day on this show. I think you just have to be patient. I agree. As we've told you for months now, nothing's going to happen, at least until you get to the NBA Finals. I mean, these conversations are happening now. The Jazz very clearly have a plan that is in place. They know what they are working on. They know what their aspirations and goals are for this offseason. When you go to the NBA Draft Combine, which the Jazz sent a full contingency there, you're having conversations. You are having meetings. You are, redoubling the efforts that you made at the trade deadline. Those conversations are back to life now, from what I'm told. So you're working hard to build a club that you believe can get you to the places that you want to go.
Yeah.
But the hard part is that none of that's going to happen now. And really, in my opinion, no significant deal is going to happen around this Utah Jazz team until free agency opens. That is when most deals are going to get done. I mean, I look at no better example again than DeAndre Ayton going out and going to be a restricted free agent. The Phoenix Suns are or already have tendered him an offer. They could not have by now, but they will tender him that $16 million offer to make him restricted. And then they got a decision to make. Like, that's how business gets done. A lot of it is sign and trade. A lot of that is done long before free agency opens, and that's why I'm telling you, behind the scenes, you're hearing a lot of conversations and seeing a lot of conversations that are going on now. But I can tell you with pretty good assurity that the Utah Jazz do not have a trade in place for anybody. Mm-hmm. The Utah Jazz are not trying to trade Rudy Gobert to Golden State. The Golden State Warriors are singularly focused on one thing at the moment, trying to win this championship. So I would just slow your roll on this stuff.
Yeah.
I would take it all with a grain of salt. Like it just, a lot of this does not make sense at all. And again, from my perspective and, talking to the people that I talk to at the Jazz and around the NBA, I would tell you that Rudy Gobert's most likely destination is Toronto. I think it's been Toronto from the beginning. We talked about Toronto at the deadline. I think that's his most likely destination. I don't see any way that he ends up with a club that's at the top of the Western Conference. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So let's get some of your thoughts in here because I'm curious what you guys think about this. Leonard, Donnan, Endelove, first one in. What's up? Good to see you, Leonard. Appreciate you. Tanner Plummer says, good morning, Hacks.
Good morning, Hacks.
Okay. Nice. Rudy Sanchez says, morning, fellas. Sweep or gentleman sweep for the Dubs? Probably a gentleman sweep.
You think?
Yeah, I gotta think that Dallas wins one here. Yeah. What did you see out of Golden State last night?
Well, what I saw was a lot of pace out of them. I mean, again, we told you last week, one of the specific points I made about Golden State was they're going to play fast. They're going to look to run and play in transition a lot against this Dallas team. And I think what you're seeing as this series has worn on is now it's not just that they play in transition, it's what they're doing defensively to get themselves into transition. So you're seeing, the 2-3 zone, you're seeing the box and one, you're seeing a lot of different looks defensively that are making it tough on the Mavericks. And again, I will say, part of this is, Reggie Bullock going, 0 for 9, I think it was last night. I'd have to check the box, but dude just couldn't make anything. And then you've got other guys on the floor couldn't make anything. So part of this, as the old saying goes, is it's a make and miss league. You're either going to make your shots and you're going to win the game, or you're going to miss and you're going to lose. So part of this combination and why Golden State has a 3-0 lead is they're committed to playing in transition. They're committed to playing great defense, and that great defense is giving them a lot of long rebounds because the Mavericks are taking a lot of threes, which just, again, pushes you out in transition, which then allows you to get the Steph three-pointer, the Clay three-pointer, the Andrew Wiggins, dunk or layup or get fouled, like those type of plays. So if I'm not confident that Dallas can win one here. And the reason I say that is because for that to happen, they're going to have to start making shots, man. And I know that sounds like caveman logic, but literally, like, you can't go 4 games in a row and just be Brick City. Like, you can't do that and expect to win a series. And when you combine that with what Golden State runs out there from 3 with Steph and Clay, what did you expect? That's why I say, like, I think it's a very, very pertinent question. Sweep or gentleman sweep? I would say sweep. I actually don't think they're going to win a game in this series. And that's just because they don't have a way to stop the Warriors. And the Warriors seemingly find a way to answer every single run that the Mavericks go on. And then they end up winning by like 10.
Yeah, I tend to be a little more analytical about it. I think this is what happens to teams who live and die on the 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen that with the Houston Rockets. I think we've certainly seen that with the Utah Jazz. And it has not hit the Golden State Warriors yet. I mean, obviously they've struggled in stretches in this series, but you look at the performance that we got out of Steph Curry last night, and there was no struggle from 3 for Steph last night. I mean,
no.
it was pretty straightforward. And you're looking at a Mavericks team, that has 0 experience in this moment. That means that you're going to squeeze the basketball a little tighter. You're going to try and be a perfectionist from 3. And I think that's why you're seeing role players like Reggie Bullock or, Dorian Finney-Smith, certainly. I mean, those guys are going to have more and more difficulty as this, playoff season went on. Yeah. They're going to have more and more difficulty consistently contributing because your nerves play in. You're playing in the biggest games of your entire life right now, and you've never been here before, so you don't know what that feels like when the ball comes to you and your heart skips a beat.
Yeah.
You don't know what that feels like when the ball's in the air and it's completely off, and it's not going in. Like, when that starts building up, that starts pressing on you, that starts coming down on you, and we're seeing that with the Dallas Mavericks. And the other thing I think is pretty critical here is that Luka Doncic has got to become a professional basketball player. And with all due respect, I know he's a very good player. He is a super talented dude. He's got to get in shape. This is a guy that has got to condition. He has got to change the way that his body is composed, because there are moments in these games where he's just out of gas and he cannot compete.
Yeah.
He cannot chase Golden State around. And that's the style of this league. He is not able to defend one-on-one. I mean, we've seen that all through this playoffs, where he essentially has been standing still in a lot of situations. And that Andrew Wiggins dunk last night, nobody's blocking that dunk. But he didn't even compete on that dunk. And to me, that's the one thing that's missing from Luka Doncic's game. His body is not that of a professional basketball player, and it's impacting him and his team's performance. That's the one thing that is keeping Luka from being a consistently elite player. Is I just don't think he has the stamina or and the right way to say it is the body composition. He is very heavy in the lower half. Like, his legs are very heavy.
Yeah.
He is not athletic. Like, I mean, it is not a long road for him to travel here.
Well, and I think the crazy thing is, I don't disagree with that. And it's funny, you look at the box score, the guy goes 40-11 last night. Like, that's a dominant performance in a losing effort. And yet, the game last night, if you watched it live front to back, you didn't really feel like Luka. It was like one of those Luka games where he was just dominating them, and it was just like a signature performance. Like, it didn't feel like that to me. And I guess I do agree he needs to get in shape, because this is a guy who, you have to remember, dominated in the EuroLeague, like was the MVP, like did great things over there. But the problem is that this is the NBA. This isn't the EuroLeague anymore. So the NBA is going to require you to be in better shape. And as much as I'm not, LeBron guy, and he's not my favorite player, you have to give LeBron a lot of credit, because this is where I think he has been elite in his career versus guys like Luka or other guys who are trying to walk that path. LeBron's body has always been there.
Yeah, and he's put the time and money into it. Like, he spends millions on his body infamously. And I'm not saying that Luka's a bad player. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. I think the guy had 40 points last night.
Yeah.
But you can just see that he is not able to athletically compete on the defensive end. And that's where they're losing these games. You're not losing it because he's scoring 40 and Dinwiddie's got 26. And you're losing it because they cannot physically and athletically compete against the jackrabbits that are the Golden State Warriors. That team puts you in a blender, and if you are not in elite physical condition, you're not going to be able to keep up with that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times where he didn't even run back. Like, when he gets fouled or he thinks he got fouled and knocked down, he doesn't even run back, and Golden State gets an easy bucket.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you have to remember here is that it's always been easy for Luka Doncic in his career. You talked about his time in the Euros. It's funny, Saturday I was watching tape of him as a teenager, and he's always been 3-4 times better than anybody across from him, always. And that's not the case anymore. You're getting into the NBA playoffs, deep into the NBA playoffs, the Western Conference Finals, you're running into elite talent. You're running into talent that is refined and ready to rock and roll in the Golden State Warriors, and guys like Clay and Steph and Draymond and that, Poole, that entire roster is full of professional basketball players.
Yeah.
And I think the hard part for Luka Doncic is going to be, who's the no guy here? Like, you look at the Dallas Mavericks organization, they've racked up now north of $100,000 in fines for a lack of professionalism. That's what this whole thing, and I don't know how many people have heard this, but they just got fined $100,000 for bench decorum, the way that their team is acting on the bench. And there are rules in the NBA that say, hey, your team cannot be standing the entire game. Their team is standing the entire game. And you're seeing situations where Golden State has a player in the corner, and a lot of times it's been Steph, and he'll shoot a three and he'll land, and he'll be surrounded by Dallas Mavericks because they're all standing up. This situation where you have a guy on the bench who, frankly, Pinson is not a regular. He isn't even on the roster in this series.
Yeah.
And he's intentionally wearing a white shirt to try and, get turnovers out of Golden State. Like, it's just a lack of professionalism. And Mark Cuban is relishing in the fact that he's being fined. And he's relishing in the fact that his team is stirring the pot with their bench. So who's going to tell Luka Doncic he can't drink a beer? Who's going to tell Luka Doncic, hey, man, you got to get in better shape?
Yeah, got to be able to run, bud.
Who's going to say that to him? And my feeling is nobody's going to say that to Luka. And that's going to be a detriment to him because he's always had it easy.
Yeah.
And talent does bring it being talented at something in your chosen profession, it does tend to knock down some doors. And I think Luka Doncic is a guy that needs somebody to say no to him.
Well, and the thing is like you're saying, like he puts up numbers. The problem is to win the game, whether that takes 50 or 15. Like you have to be able to run. You have to be able to get back and physically compete for 40 minutes. Again, not to go stat nerd, but you look at the minutes, like all of Golden State starters are 37 to 40 minutes. Luka last night, like 40 minutes. Finney Smith, 42 minutes. Like you're going to play in the postseason, you're going to play 40 minutes. Like you have to be able to not just play that 40 minutes, but dominate that 40 minutes. It can't be a situation where you're getting tired or you're just not willing to get back. And that's one of my biggest things for any NBA player. I understand that, hey, I thought I should have got that call. I'm going to go and complain to the official. This is the postseason. You're down. Like last night, you're down 2-0 heading into this game. You can't go down 3-0, yet here they are. And that's what I didn't particularly love. But, hey, that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see exactly how this all plays out. I have to think that Dallas wins Game 4. I mean, it'd be really shocking to me if this particular team goes out like a lamb instead of a lion. I mean,
yeah,
I would have trouble seeing them get swept 4-0. I mean, at some point, Reggie Bullock's going to knock down a shot. You would think.
You would think.
But it's 3. The series is over. You're down 3-0. I mean, it is nearly an impossible
It's just
feat.
a question of how you're going to lose the series.
Yeah, I mean, how much fight do you have left in the dog if you're Dallas? And we'll see. I mean, they've had a spectacular run. I mean, obviously the big three in Dallas with Luka, Jalen Brunson, and Spencer Dinwiddie have had a really good run through the playoffs. I mean, Dinwiddie has been what they asked him to be. I mean, Luka's obviously been a star. Jalen Brunson's every night made himself a whole bunch of money. This has been a good run, an improbable run, even at that.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a really good run, but you don't want to get swept out. I would love to see Dallas fight and win Game 4 and then head back to San Francisco for a Game 5. And you just got to take it one quarter at a time at this point. And I know that sounds really cliche, but
they just got to make some shots, man. I mean, again, you're 13 of 45 from 3. Like, come on, bro. Like, you have to be better than that.
And the other thing is Luka's getting calls. I mean, I think it was 14 of 17 from the free throw stripe last night. I mean, 40 points, 14 made free throws. I mean, the guy's getting calls.
Yeah.
So you just need your role guys to really play well. And I think that's what you're seeing out of Golden State that you're not seeing out of Dallas. It's a very stark contrast. I mean, you look at guys like Juan Toscano-Anderson or Jordan Poole or their secondary players, Andrew Wiggins, frankly.
Yeah.
You know, like is a secondary player on that roster. Clay's turned into a secondary player. If you're going to win a championship, your star player, your Steph Curry, has to ball out. He is. But if you're Dallas, you're getting it from Luka. Their problem is that they're not getting it consistently from Bullock. Dorian Finney-Smith has been a huge disappointment, frankly, in this series to me. Anyways, you knew he had to really step up and play better because you know you're not going to rely on Dwight Powell to give you any kind of statistical impact, right?
Yeah.
You need 3-4 guys, and really, if you look at the numbers on this game specifically last night, I mean, you're getting 40 out of Luka, 26 out of Dinwiddie, and 20 out of Brunson.
So right there, is that not a very similar game to the Phoenix blowout to end that series?
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
it's close.
That's it. What is that? 86 points out of 100 from 3 guys. That's not going to do it. Whereas you get 27 from Wiggs, 31 from Curry, 19 from Clay, 10 from Poole. I mean, you get contributions, 12 rebounds from Looney, a 27 and 11 performance out of Andrew Wiggins. Draymond gives you 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 dimes. Like, the goods got delivered for Golden State.
Yeah.
And
they didn't turn it over nearly as much.
That's really as simple as this series has been, is that you've had deeper contributions from Golden State than you have from Dallas. And that's why I say I'm not telling you that Luka's the reason they're going to lose this series. He's not. But he's got to get in better shape. How much does Luka Doncic want to win an NBA championship? That's a big question, because there are some things that he could pretty rapidly change. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how he develops and matures as he goes on. Because I also think that's a big word with Luka Doncic. He needs to mature a little bit.
Yeah.
He needs to understand the actions that he puts out on the floor have consequences.
Indeed.
So it'll be interesting.
And I think, isn't he only 24?
Yeah, he's
right?
a pup.
Yeah,
he's very young.
And that's what we have to remember. Like, Luka has done a ton in basketball he's 23 years old. He's not even 24 yet. Like, the guy is doing this at such a young age. And that's why I say, like, I think when you look at other players, again, like, the Devin Bookers, or even you look at Steph early in his career, like, these guys have a lot of maturing that happens from essentially like 24 to 27 age-wise in the NBA is a huge couple of years for guys like Luka. They do a lot of maturing. Donovan Mitchell, exactly. Like, if you're gonna be a star, multi-time champion guy, it's going to happen in this window in time. The next 3 to 4 seasons are huge for guys like Luka.
Yeah, let's get some of your thoughts in here. Brett Robbins says Royce Buckets O'Neal needs some help this offseason. He can't do everything on his own.
Right.
They have got. I think he's doing his job, which should be holding the bench down, so it doesn't tip over. I'm kidding. I'm being a jerk. Tanner says, no, Brett, it's Royce Buckets O'Bench.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Gabe Ledley says, we're starting this party early today, huh, boys? No, your kids started it over the weekend, winning a championship in Arizona baseball. Gabe Ledley, congratulations to you and the Fam Bam and that team there.
Let's go.
James Knight says the Rudy circus rolls on. It really does. I think it's one of the biggest stories hanging over the Jazz right now is their relationship with their star players. What's the end result? When we get to August, when we get to free agency, what does this team look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the team, I obviously it's hard to say right now, but I think the Jazz are this is just such a critical time for the club. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. And we've been saying this since, I mean, I feel like forever at this point, since the beginning of the year. Like, you knew how this season was going to play out, that this coming off season that we're approaching right now was just going to be super critical. And I really hope that because this summer, let's be really honest, and this is kind of what you said to open the show. The time moves by really fast. Like, it's already Memorial Day.
Yeah, can you believe it's already the week of Memorial Day?
Like, the next thing we know, we're going to be saying, hey, where do you want to go and watch fireworks for July 4th? Or where do you want to go and do this or do that? And my point with that just is that as a Jazz fan, I understand, hey, the Jazz aren't playing right now. Dallas is, like, all these other teams are, and you're pissed off about that. And I respect that. I totally do. Yeah. I'd be concerned if you weren't upset. But my point here is that the time is going to go fast. The trade market is going to open. Free agency is going to open. And I'm telling you, as much as I wish the Jazz were playing right now, pay attention to what they do, because this will ultimately define what happens next season. And I hope they make the right moves. I really do.